Hey man, guitar guy here. I'm going to show you a crazy tip, because I am crazy, about teaching you guys how to be more awesomized. And this tip might surprise you if you're into playing guitar and playing lead and you've been struggling. You might like this tip. Stick around because I'm going to show you this. It's going to rock your world. So a lot of my students that I've been teaching on Skype, which I've been loving, have been coming up with some of them have the issue when it comes to playing soloing, and we learn a scale shape, and we're kind of taught, and we sort of think that the best thing to do is have approach the soloing with very sort of direct fingers, okay? Meaning the fingers are pointing directly down towards the guitar. The thing I'm going to show you today is going to maybe feel a bit counterproductive or counterintuitive, probably more. But it's going to blow your minds. And this, you'll notice whenever you watch the best guitarists in the world, they all do this. And it is the index finger and the thumb, but mostly the index finger. So when we do our first scale shape, right? So once again, I always stick with A minor. I know I do play in other keys, guys, but it's just nice and easy to teach you guys guitar in A minor. Here's my scale shape. Now, you'll notice my first finger there. What angle is my first finger on? It's a strong angle, isn't it? It's not like this. It's not underneath the guitar. The moment I put my hand underneath the guitar to play, I'm in a really ugly position to play. My hand gets in a very awkward position, but a lot of people are trying to learn soloing like this, with this kind of claw hand like this. And I can see why you would do that. That makes total sense to me too. When you look down, this is what you're trying to make your fingers kind of conform to what you think should be right. But the most natural way for our first index finger to sit on the guitar is actually on an angle. And so I've been looking at ways of helping people to do this and integrate it into soloing. So our first position scale shape in our pentatonic, we have our first finger. What I want you to do is to cross, to basically, to bar over two strings at once, okay? So the index finger is going to cover the two strings at the bottom, okay? That's the 5th fret on both of those strings, 5 and 5. First step is we're going to turn the index finger so it's facing towards you. So you're basically pointing at yourself. Okay, that's the first step. That's going to feel weird because it kind of feels like we're crossing across the strings here, and it doesn't seem like the smartest move in the world to do that when we're going to solo. But what that means is, and the other thing is the thumb, by the way, the thumb's going to help too. We're going to put the thumb on the top of the guitar. So immediately we're kind of grabbing the neck of the guitar with our pinching finger and our hand, and we're kind of holding the neck that way. And you can feel, you should be able to feel a lot of wood behind the guitar there when you're doing that. The other thing is when we go to, now when I go to reach my little finger, it actually reaches really easily now to that high position. Even the third finger can now reach to a high position. That seems to be a lot more, it doesn't seem to be like, if you were to explain it to someone, a sensible thing, but for some reason it works that way because that's how our fingers work. And now, I can actually do some cool riffs like that. And you watch all the stuff I'm playing. All that's happening with this angled finger. So what we want to do is be purposeful for a moment, okay? For some part of our soloing, when we first learn this, about having our finger kind of stuck there on the bottom two strings initially. We can do it anywhere, but initially bottom two strings. And then just trying to play solos, but using the bottom two strings. And so while someone's playing, or you've got a backing track on, even better. And yeah. Hammer-ons, and getting used to your thumb being in this position and your hand being in that position. So here I'm being intentional, okay? I'm being intentional about a new technique. Instead of just going, oh, it'd be good to be able to play like that and hoping that you do when you play, let's be intentional and actually make ourselves do this by using this exercise, okay? And it might take 5 minutes of you soloing like this and it'll become integrated into your playing. It might take more than that, but at least you know the idea. And it's honestly, it's transforming the guys that I'm teaching. It's transforming their soloing, absolutely transforming it. Now the next thing is, once you get used to playing the bottom two strings, is to bring it up a string. So during the week you might decide, okay, I'm going to try soloing now with my first finger flat over the bottom three strings. So the angle of the fingers is still angled, maybe not as angled as it was before, but it's still slightly angled, and we're flattening those bottom three strings. So that's the bottom, that's the first, second, and third strings. are kind of there flattened, all ready to go. So we can solo around that. Whatever you're doing with that, you know. You can kind of see that finger stays there initially, like stays down the whole time while we're soloing. And that's just to get it, this is being intentional again. This is not how we solo all the time, okay, I get that. But it's just getting us to that feeling so that becomes normal. Then we integrate it, okay? So the next thing would be to go, okay, now I'm going to just solo like normal, but every now and again I'm going to flatten that finger across some notes and play some stuff, and then I'm just going to play some notes, and I'm going to flatten the finger so you become conscious about doing it and not doing it. So you flip between the two feelings. So you might be playing flattened, and then you just go back to how you're playing, and then flattened, whatever you're doing there. So you can kind of see what we're doing there. Now this seems like a crazy little idea. I know, it doesn't seem right to be able to have a hand on an angle like that. But just try it. Give it a go and you'll notice you'll be able to stretch even further with these third fingers to play your solos. Most solos out there and most great guitar players don't even use the little finger for much anyway. It's always usually these three fingers. You watch Gary Moore play and he just plays incredibly well with barely ever touches his little finger at all. And then you just bring it up a string at a time. Pretty simple idea, yeah? Bring it up another string, going, okay, I'm going to cover 4 strings. And there's another added benefit to this, and this is the hidden thing that's very, very important to grasp. But it's, when I say it's one of those things we call it in jiu-jitsu, it's an invisible feature. It's something you're not quite aware of, but it's a small change that makes a difference. Now, having this finger flat in this way, the other advantage is it naturally covers the strings below that you're not wanting to play. So when you lift this bar, this first finger off to play an individual note, it still wants to kind of stay in that position, which means that if I'm playing that string, in this case it's the 5th fret, 4th string, the strings below it are already muted. So I'm able to, I'm raking across the strings here, and those notes are already covered, so I can actually get kind of a muty sound, which is what I'm doing there with one note. All that cool funky stuff I'm doing there, part of it's my thumb playing a bass note, but pretty much, and every now and again I'll flatten to get that sound. And I'm just using that idea, the same idea. I know this is advanced, you've just learnt this, you don't expect to have this done this week. But as time goes on, you'll notice there's so many benefits to this idea. Whereas opposed to being underneath the guitar and having this kind of angular, direct, perfect fingers, tips of the fingers pointing towards the guitar. As for the other fingers, you'll notice as well, my fingers naturally just seem to lie down. And when my first finger goes in this position, can you kind of see that? These fingers are kind of flat and straight, but on an angle as well. It just naturally happens that way. And so as a bit of homework for you guys, obviously apart from doing this technique, would be to go and check out your favorite guitar players and just have a look at the angle of their fingers. And are they pointing that way? Are they pointing that way? Or are they pointing that way back to themselves? Especially that first finger. And you'll notice, I think you'd notice 9 times out of 10 that you have this sort of angle going on, unless it's some sort of special avant-garde guitar player like Robert Fripp. So that's a cool little idea you can use. In any position, it's the same cool idea. Hopefully this makes sense, and these kind of little tricks and tips are helping you guys out. I know they're having amazing success with the students that I'm working with, and I hope that's working well for you, and I hope you understand, you get this little concept. Don't stress out too much if it doesn't come immediately, because it is counterintuitive. I get it. Just stick with that little first exercise and just start with that. Hopefully this has been fun. This is Mark the Guitar Guy, about to sign off with a little bit more funky tribute to the bent finger situation in a slightly different key. Let's do that and play you guys out. Have an awesome day. Like my channel, all that sort of stuff. I can't wait to see you guys for the next one soon. Let's have some fun.